Tēnā koutou katoa, and welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining in today. The purpose of today's session is that we want to answer that little voice in your head that has been calling out to you for quite a while and said, you got to do something. You got to change something. You got to be in control of your career. And we will walk you through a pathway through the Executive MBA of how you can absolutely take control of your career, be in charge, and make sure that you have a chance to be as influential, aspirational, contributing to your communities and your family as you can. We have a star-studded team here today with Rebecca, with Myra, Deetha, Mandy, and Susan from the team here at Massey, and you will know very quickly that we have a dedicated group of these people who will make sure that we shield you from the influences of the big bad university, and we make sure we keep the bureaucracy at bay. And then we have Uli, one of our current students, actually a graduate. That means that she is about to graduate, gets the cape, gets the hat, gets to hug the mascot, and walks the stage after 2 years of hard work. And she will walk you through how that all works out. So we are here to have a very interactive session. Important for you to remember that our intake for this year starts in about 2 weeks, 16th of February. There is still time to join on, but you need to get on the horse quite quickly. On that happy note of getting on the horse and on the way, I will turn it over to Rebecca.
Thank you, Jens. Welcome, everyone. Kia ora. Thank you for joining us tonight to learn more about our Executive MBA and how it may well be the professional development program for you. I am Rebecca Buchanan, the Sales Manager for the Executive MBA and MBA programs. So, of course, why are you here? Why would you choose Massey to study your Executive MBA? Well, firstly, as you can see, we have an amazing team who will look after you on your study journey with us. The Executive MBA program will give you the professional development and the career boost you're after, but to suit your level of experience. It includes flexibility, practical learning, and a very high level of networking. Our programs are also, of course, globally recognized qualifications. So with a mix of both online and in-person learning and 2 cohorts, so the Albany campus cohort and the Auckland airport cohort, you will be able to fit your studies around full-time work and other personal commitments that you have. Plus, you can choose which of those 2 cohorts are going to suit you best and where your home location is. There are no exams in the Executive MBA, and you'll only have about 3 assessments to complete for each course. Now, your studies are going to be very practical. They're going to be relevant to real-world current business. So we're not just going to give you books to read and theory to learn and then leave you to work out how on earth you're going to apply that in your work. You're going to learn each subject of study in depth. You're going to discuss it with your academics who are all business professionals and also your professional peers, how it relates to the company you're learning about, but also to your company that you work with. So you can use the skills in your work the very next day. You're going to turn up at work the next day, able to contribute at meetings that maybe you wouldn't have before because you'll now understand what everyone else is talking about. It's not going to be like school, sitting and listening to a teacher go on about what they know and just have you try to memorize it. You're going to be actively involved in the discussions throughout your whole study journey, as if you're in the boardroom having meetings with your colleagues at work. The networks that you're going to develop are going to be long-term business connections with business professionals teaching you, those joining you as guest speakers, teaching you about their companies, strategies and practices, and also your fellow students who all come with a high level of experience, but all with very different subject areas of expertise. So it's going to open up a huge resource of knowledge for you to learn from and who with, even beyond your Executive MBA study. So the Executive MBA is going to move you forward. So with your knowledge, your connections, and your career. So I mentioned you'll use your skills in your work the next day. So in the Executive MBA, You can also bring in projects and strategizing from your own company to work on in your studies. You can take back carefully critiqued and well-guided consultancy to your company. So you're not the only one who can benefit from your Executive MBA study. So that's really key as well if you want to sell that to your company and see if they can support you at all in your studies. You'll develop your understanding of effective leadership, including governance, what it is and how to do it right, and its place in business. You're going to learn about businesses in New Zealand and globally, how to consult for them, guide them, and understand what it takes to expand in the current business world. With your business professional academics, your professional peers, and your guest speakers and the companies you're going to work with, you're going to expand your connections with the leaders of the business world, just monumentally, hugely. Now, our alumni will be able to tell you that the Executive MBA is going to give you all these lovely C starting words. So we've got capability, capacity, confidence, connections, and courage. Now, these are all key traits to help you contribute knowledgeably to your company's strategy, make your mark in your company, and stand out for those higher level roles to advance in your career, or maybe branch out into something new. You're going to have the connections and the courage also to do all of this. So I'm now going to pass over to Ditha, and she's going to talk to you further about our program recognition, very important, and the program options for you. Over to you, please, Ditha.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good evening and welcome, everyone. So like Rebecca said, I'm going to talk to you about the accreditations and the rankings. This is the confidence you get with the Executive MBA, taking that degree to the world with the confidence of it being accredited by an American body, which is the AACSP, and a UK body, which is the AMBA. Both of these organizations have accredited us for the longest period that they can, which AMBA is 5 years and AACSP is 3 years. So we've got the accreditations from them telling us that we have globally recognized content from on the Executive MBA. In addition to this, we have been highly ranked by CEO Magazine, so number 9 there for the Executive MBA, as well as the Shanghai ranking. The QS ranking is a body that looks at different subjects and then ranks them accordingly. And this is important because these are the schools or the departments of the business school where we pull lecturers from. So all of this tells us that our content is globally recognized, and you've got that stamp of standardization from our accreditation bodies, which gives you the confidence to take your degree globally and to be confident that the content and the knowledge that you gain from here is something that you can use globally as well. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk to you about all of the courses and the programs that we have available to you. While the Executive MBA is the focus this evening, I would like to quickly talk to you about the other 2 programs that we have on offer. The MBA Online is a fully online program designed to allow students to get their degree on the side while they're working full-time, which means that you only come in via Zoom for 2 hours per week. You've got somewhere between 18 to 24 months to complete your degree if you follow the recommended time schedule, but you've got up to 5 years to complete this program. It gives you the opportunity to specialize in various subject matters. You've got flexibility with the online option, and you get an opportunity to have corporate networking and a platform, 24/7 platform that's available to you to study at your own pace. In addition to this, we've got the MBA full-time program, which is designed for someone who would like to take 1 year off work, come in, get that degree in just 1 year, and then go back into work with an MBA. We run 3 classes per week. And like I said, 12 months in and out, you complete with an MBA. You also get an opportunity to specialize. You get some New Zealand work experience, and you get New Zealand market exposure and company visits as well. The focus this evening, of course, is the Executive MBA, which runs every 6 weekends. You get about 16 hours. So you're in per course for 16 hours. You get all the content that you need to absorb and then go back and then work at your own pace. We've got 2 campuses that we run this at, which one is the Albany campus. And then, of course, we also run the Executive MBA at the Auckland Airport. You got about 15 months to complete this, plus a few months based on your for your project that you need to complete the Executive MBA within. But the highlight is the global study tour, which Mandy is going to talk to you about shortly. But you also get Governance New Zealand membership. So like we said, the star of this evening is the Executive MBA. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Mandy, to talk to you more about this program.
Hi, I'm Mandy, everyone, and my job is to help people to make a successful Executive MBA application. So we're up to the point now where we're saying, is the Executive MBA right for you? So if you're the type of person who's looking for new knowledge or improving your knowledge in strategy, governance, leadership skills, have strong personal growth thrown in, then the Executive MBA is right for you. Some of the features of our program is that there's amazing networking with other leaders from all over New Zealand. We have just the most brilliant guest speakers. There's career coaching, there's consultancy in New Zealand and internationally, and you'll have an exposure to governance practices by observing on a board. We will open your eyes to endless possibilities. Down there it says, look, who do you want to become? A general manager, a CEO, an entrepreneur, a board member, a director, anything you want to be, the skills that we teach will help you to get there. So if you would like to start the Executive MBA, we're looking for people who have a degree, but if you don't have a degree, there are pathways. So you need to talk to us about that. You need at least 7 years of work experience, and 3 of those need to be in management. And management is not just managing people, it's managing projects. It's actually being responsible for your own outcome and owning your own business, things like that. So again, if you're unsure, come talk to us and we'll be able to help you with that. Our students work in every sector. So they are owner operators, they come from SMEs, they're from government departments, large corporates, not-for-profits, and they come from all over New Zealand. And that creates this amazing diversity. There are many ways to solve a problem, and you can learn some of those techniques and skills from the people in the room. 40% of the learning comes from those people because they all bring this amazing experience with them. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, the only person you are destined to become is the person that you decide to be. So this is your opportunity to start upskilling yourself and looking towards your own future. Now, on the next slide, we're just going to talk very briefly about a pathway. So for those of you who do not have a degree or who want to take your studies slower, there's the Postgraduate Certificate of Business Administration. Now, these are 4 Executive MBA courses. So no one knows whether you're a PG Cert or an EMBA student. You are there in the class, 100% participating with all of our EMBA students. But you can take it slower. You can take 2 years to do these 4 courses. If you pass with a B- average, then we can pop you into the EMBA and off you go. So you can either do it along with the rest of the class or you can take your time. So that was just something I wanted to briefly mention to you because it is one of our pathways. So on the next slide, we're just going to talk about the competencies. This is what you get from the qualification. These are the tools for your toolbox, and it will make you more valuable to any employer, and it will help you to improve the outcomes of that business or your own business, depending on what you're working on at that time. Now, you're going to get these slides, so I'm going to keep moving through quickly because we want lots of time for questions. So on the next slide, we're just going to talk briefly about the features, some of the really cool stuff that we do. I think Rebecca said, look, it's not boring. It's not chalk and talk. It's very involved. It's going to really push you out of your comfort zone. But most of our students say how much fun it is, and they miss it terribly. Uli might talk to you about that when she comes to speak. They miss the camaraderie and the learning and the opportunities that they get from this kind of study. So these are the features that will help to set you up to be successful. And it gives you an opportunity to try new skills in a protected environment. So rather than you trying things in your business, which you can do, but remember you've got an academic over the top of you saying, no, if you tweak it this way, if you do it this way, have you thought about this? You will have better outcomes for everybody. All right, on the next slide, this is the exciting thing that we do. This is the study tour. And the study tour for you will be in 2025. So not this year, but next year. You'll have a choice of 2 or 3 tours. This year we've got 3. Amazing. And what you get to do is you get to look at scale and you make connections internationally and you network overseas. It's a 9-day, 2 countries tour. So it is full on, right from woe to go, full on. And while you're there, you will do international consultancy, which is absolutely amazing for your CV. Where else are you going to get this kind of opportunity to pop on your CV that you've done international consultancy? So one of our students who is just finishing at the moment, same class as Uli, posted on LinkedIn, and he said our international study tour to Singapore and Bangkok was the pivotal chapter in this journey. It offered first-hand experience in international business strategy, engaging with leading global organisations. This exposure was invaluable in understanding global business dynamics. And so this is not prompted from us. We didn't ask him to do that. He was blowing his trumpet about how great he was because he had finished his Executive MBA, and he should be proud. He worked hard and he was successful. All right, the tours in 2025 are listed here. Very exciting. All the students are already putting their names down for which ones that they want to go on. But we have also been to Argentina, Brazil, India, the USA, Canada, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So you excited yet? Do you want to come? You can if you join us. Yeah, I'll go. Yes, can I go? Yeah, exactly, Janine, I'd go too. Exactly. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. And so that's an opportunity for you. Okay, let's get back to the serious stuff now. On the next slide, this is this is some information about it. 10 weekend classes, 15 months plus a project, and you should be done in 22 months, though you can take up to 30. The average age is 42, but it ranges from 29, which is about our minimum, up to 59. This is the current classes. The average work experience is 21 years, 7 is the minimum, up to 40, and the average management experience is 10 years, and that ranges from the minimum of 3 to 28. And our current students come from Invercargill in the south to Kaikohe in the north. So they come from everywhere. So you're not just being exposed to people who live in Auckland. You've got regional people, you've got people who are engaged in all kinds of businesses, and that gives you deep learning. This year, last year, which was the 2023 class, there was a huge gender swing. And so we had 60% women. As of today, we are 52% women. So we're sitting right in that 50-50, which is a really great place to be as well. So come on, ladies, let's show them that we can actually do it again this year. I think that really adds a nice spice to life in the class. Return on investment. 72% improved their roles while they were studying. I never understand that myself. I'd be sticking to the knitting and concentrating on the studying, but people know they can do more. They have more capacity. So they actually know that they can go out and contribute more. So they change jobs. But of those, 35% stayed within the organisation that they were working for. And that's a fantastic statistic, because what that shows is that companies value the learning that they're getting from the study. All right, on the next slide, let's have a look at the courses themselves. The Executive MBA is a 240 credit program. Now, that may mean nothing to you, but what that means to your learning is that you can dive deeper into some of the subjects. And if you take a look at the first year, which is the blue ones, they are the building blocks of business. And this is where you will learn the language of business. If you've ever been in a meeting where someone tries to talk figures to you in some bamboozling way, big words, we will teach you all of that, and you'll be able to demystify that, as well as knowing where to look to find the answers for problems that are occurring in the business that you're in. You take one course at a time. We're not going to overwhelm you. We're just going to give you one course at a time. And there are usually 3 assessments, which has already been mentioned. Individual, group, and something else. It can be a presentation or it could be a test. Now, Rebecca mentioned no exams. Exams mean you have to retain that information and hold it to the end of the semester. We don't do that. And our tests are practical. So what we're trying to do is, if you're going to look at a set of books for, say, the finance course, then you are going to be able to look at it and go, okay, I do this, I do that, this is right, this is wrong, this is where they've gone wrong here. All right, we start with an orientation, and it's on Friday, the 16th of February, not very far away. And the reason that we start with an orientation is that we set you up to be successful. So we spend that day teaching you how to do things, how we want things done so you get a good grade, and where to find help, and a whole range of other things. And we have a bit of fun along the way. All right, you can see the courses are offset from our Auckland campus, which is Albany, to the airport, and so there's a little bit of flexibility in there in the first year. The cohorts come together twice, law and contemporary strategy, the orange ones. And in the first, we only start in February of each year for the Executive MBA, but if you want that slower option, that PG Cert, the 4 EMBA courses, you can also start that in July. So that gives you some options if you're thinking, oh, can't start now, but would like to do some study, that's an option for you. If you select either Albany or Auckland Airport. Auckland Airport's at the Novotel Hotel, right across the road from the International Airport. So if you are some of our fly-in students, and we have lots of those, you just come into the domestic terminal, you walk across to International, and bam, you're on your way. We've got coffee even waiting for you when you get there. And then you stay the night and you fly home, and you're home from 4 o'clock. So we get you on your way. The class doesn't start on Saturday until 10, and that allows you to fly in. And as I said, we're finished at 4. Albany, it's more standard time, 8:30 to 4:30, but we feed you and look after you, and you've got lots of breaks, and we're all very kind and nice, and you just concentrate on your learning. Portfolio courses, you might look at them, they've got little asterisks beside them. That means you don't come into class for those. What you do is you actually, you have topics that you choose, and you have some Zoom sessions about those, and you write about them. You pull together all your learning, and you put a lens over the top of it. So some of the topics you can choose are leadership and staff development, innovation and entrepreneurship, finance and operational solutions, sales and external stakeholders, and Māori business. And there are others that you can have a look at too. So it's just a pass or fail. So it should be a class that you are really looking forward to and getting done. In the second year, everybody comes together, and the focus is on the larger strategic matters within a business. So you've got all those building blocks, and then we're going to ask you lots of questions that you need to pull in some of that learning from. And you come together, both groups are together, you've learned enough from the people that were in your group before, and then now you're going to have the opportunity of exploring what other people have to know as well. There are only 3 classes in the second year, so that's really cool. You don't have to come for that portfolio class, and the applied business project course doesn't require any class time either. Governance is amazing because that's where you get to go and sit on a board or observe a board. And if you've never been exposed to that, that's an awesome thing to do. And if you're already on a board, then you're going to learn some skills in that class to top yourself up. The strategy course is the study tour course. So, of course, we're all kind of putting our hands up saying, pick us, we'd love to go. And that's where you get that international consultancy. Our practitioner academics, that's what we call our lecturers, come from practical corporate work experience, as Rebecca said, but also they bring in guest speakers. So they are well connected in the community and the knowledge base that they know about, and they will connect you to those businesses. You will have the opportunity to connect with those people. They also know that there are people in the class who know absolutely nothing about the topic, nothing. And that's okay, because that's what their skill set is. They are going to bring you up to speed, and I like to say they bring you from 0 to hero. They bring you from a place of no knowledge to being able to pass the course and to carry on and to sometimes be quite enthused about those topics. The EMBA also gives you direct entry as an affiliate member into Governance New Zealand. And worldwide, that's called the Chartered Governance Institute Global. And so that gives you the opportunity to upskill into those company directorships, or if you're on school boards and all those kind of things, you can start to grow your knowledge base and grow that connection so that you can move into those higher levels. Now, the next slide is really busy, but I just want to talk about 2 people and their return on investment. So on the left, my left-hand side is Niraj Lala, who is the CEO of Toyota New Zealand. Now, I can remember him coming on the course, and he was so anti, it wasn't even funny. He was made to come by Toyota. He was paid by them to come, and he was like, I don't need this. But he went on and on for ages. And then after the second course, he went, actually, this is really quite cool. I am learning something, and I am progressing in my career. And what he did when he finished, he's a very big advocate of our program now. He sends lots of people along, and he's really keen on it because he realised that a love of learning and an ability, you don't know what you don't know. And so that for him really opened some doors. And he went off to the States and worked for a few years, came back for 2 years, and then he was appointed the CEO. So really stellar career change for him, because he was in marketing when he joined us the first time. And the other person is the one on the other side, Ellen. Now, I can also remember Ellen coming onto the program. She was in the army at the time, and she was desperate for the army to change the way they treated women in the army. And so she wanted to progress. She was already some really high-ranked person in the army, but she wanted to make sure that there was a change, and she knew research was going to do that for her. So she came and did that. She left the army. She worked for PwC. She's now a consultant. But last year, she was voted the Local Hero of the Year. This is the New Zealand Local Hero of the Year for her work that she did bringing Afghan families to New Zealand. So she saved 563 people from the Taliban. And she wasn't in the army anymore. Her and some of her friends got together, and they were non-political, they were non-military, and yet they worked out ways of getting those people out. And every time I think about that and talk to her about that, I said, I bet you that Ops and Logs course that you did, Operations and Logistics, came in handy. And she said you would be shocked by how many of those courses helped them to work out how they were going to get those people and families out. All right, how much is it going to cost you? What is your investment? On the next slide, let's have a look. Most people pay via student loan. If you are self-funding, the fees are invoiced the month before you do the course. So remember, every 6 weeks they come around, and you also have the option of paying monthly. So it is doable. It looks like a lot of money, and I do appreciate that, but your return on investment is huge. A lot of our students make that money back the year after they have finished their study by changing jobs or by working at a higher level within the organisation they're in. Don't forget, books and study materials are included. And we also feed you. We cater for you, which is really lovely. If you are currently or have served in the New Zealand Defence Force, or your partner is in the New Zealand Defence Force, you are eligible for a 30% tuition fee reduction. You need to contact us about that before you enrol online. If you are an international student online here, I don't know if anyone is, but the fees are higher than what's listed here at 72,000 New Zealand dollars for the tuition fee, and with the study tour, that's about 77,600. Now, Benjamin Franklin said the investment in knowledge is the best interest, and that is absolutely what you need to be thinking about as you go forward with this. We do let you know about scholarships. Last year, 15 of our EMBA students gained scholarships. And also, we will give you lots of information about scholarships. There's some in the resource documents, so don't panic about that. And corporate sponsorship is the other way to go. We had 27 EMBA students who were either fully or partially sponsored by their employer. And those are only the ones that paid Massey directly. There are lots of organisations who, if you pass, they refund your money. So there's no harm in asking. Most of them do have some staff development funds available. So it's always good to go and have a look at those. Otherwise, go via StudyLink or a loan. All right, the next slide. This is what you've been waiting for, I think. This is someone who has invested in themselves and in their career. This is Uli. Uli is a graduand, which means she has done everything to finish her EMBA. She is just waiting to graduate in May. And so we're really grateful that she's here. And Uli, thank you very much for your time, and I'd like to pass over to you.
Mandy, Jens, Rebecca, Susan, lovely to see you again. Ditha, thank you very much for having me this evening. I have been exactly where you guys are 2 years ago, in your chairs, thinking, am I doing the right thing? Do I really want to commit to this? Am I smart enough? Am I clever enough? Do I have the time? I'm working full time. Lots of questions probably in your heads, but yeah, look, my journey was a bit different. I was born and raised in Europe and spent some time in the US in the legal career, but I never had an undergraduate degree. I had a executive legal degree, a diploma from Germany, but didn't have an undergraduate degree. So I was really scared that, wow, a master's program, even with the PG cert that Mandy was talking about, option, that pathway made that a possibility. I was still questioning myself. Wow, am I really fit to go into a master's program? And yes, I was, and you are too. So don't make that, don't let that stop you for a moment. The EMBA is probably the most important decision I've ever made for my own career, but it was also a life-changing decision. The impact it has had on me personally was that I now have confidence in my abilities, and I have a degree to back that up. I always knew I could add value to an organization and management, but I could never really say, hey, here is a degree that substantiates my claim. So now I can say that. So this was kind of my motivator for, I also knew that I'm working as a manager in the construction project management industry. So I was at the top of my game without a master's degree. I wasn't going to go any further as an executive or director or anything else. So I needed to do something. And as you can tell, I'm not exactly 25. I'm in that older bracket of attendees that Mandy was talking about. So, and I wish I'd done it sooner, but I would do it again tomorrow. So doubts that you have right now, questions that you may have, I'm happy to take them from you directly in a moment. But I just wanted to share my journey with you, and my journey of discovery, not just about what I learned on an academic space, but also what you learn about yourself. One thing I never really knew about myself was that I'm actually really good at strategy. I understand strategy. I just never had a way to put it into terms that I could explain. Now I actually recognize, hey, this is something that I was good at, but now I have the tools to do it even better. The other thing that, for example, took me completely by surprise was that I loved economics. Who would have guessed? Governance, absolute eye-opener. So finance wasn't really my jam, as the youngsters say, but even there, it was not something that stopped me. I achieved relatively high grades across the board. I'm hoping to graduate with distinction. So don't think that if you don't have an undergraduate degree or you haven't been in a university setting for a while, that this is not for you. It is absolutely for you. So, hey, look, the international study tour. Our cohort went to Hong Kong, and standing on the 46th floor of HSBC and presenting to them, to their fintech people that came from London and from Europe and from Australia, from Asia, Southeast Asia, and locally in Hong Kong. And they were listening to something we pitched to them. We were all terrified, honestly. We were terrified. But we walked away realizing, hey, we actually know something. We actually know something. So the presentation, you learn so much about yourself and your own abilities. And one thing that struck me about the EMBA was that what I learned on the weekends during those courses, I went to work on Monday and Tuesday and thought, hey, I'm so excited. I want to try this. And I learned to put this information that I learned on the weekend immediately into context that I could put it to work, which really kind of scared my boss a little bit, because he started referring to me as the cool nerd in the office, because I came every time I had a course, a paper, I came with new ideas and like, oh, we got to do this. We're not doing this. So you actually, it does raise your awareness of where you can add value. That translates for you as being someone people come to for advice. I now have coworkers that come to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? And they would have never approached me about a strategic question or about a business development question. This is something that I'm now doing because I've learned this. Also, my specialty is in the learning and development space for adults. So we have engineers, we have a lot of technically very skilled people. And I think it is always helpful when I talk to them about development, furthering their education, whether it is something technical or whether it's something totally unrelated, that I can say, hey, you know what? I'm not just talking the talk, I'm actually walking the walk. I've got uni this weekend. And they kind of go, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, I'm doing a master's program. Really? Why? Why not? Why not? Right? So look, I mean, the return on your investment, I can honestly say that within 2 years of those student fees, you will most likely recover those within a year, 18 months to 2 years post-study. We had a cohort that was about 50% women, about 50% men. We, as Mandy explained, we had some younger people attending, and I wasn't even the oldest one. So we had different ranges. We had engineers, we had operations people, we had HR managers, we had CEOs, we had people that had their own business from all walks of life, from all different backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds and areas of where they grew up. So we were really a melting pot, and we kind of learned a lot from each other. So each paper has a group work attached to it where you work as a group and you learn a lot about teamwork, and you learn a lot about motivating each other and holding each other accountable for, the delivery to the team. There is so much that I want to share with you, but I think maybe it would be helpful for me to ask you if you have any specific questions, and that might give me some more direction to share some more information with.
That's great, Uli. Thank you for that. Yes, so if you have any questions for Uli, please pop them in the chat and we'll come back to them at the end. You might like to ask her things like, how she does her study, what was the timing like? All of those kind of questions. Start percolating and thinking about those now, because it's a golden opportunity to speak to somebody who's, who volunteered to come and share their experience. Thank you very much, Uli. We'll just move along so that we've got time for those questions. Professor Jens Müller is our director, and he's also one of our practitioner academics, and I'll pass over to you now, Jens.
Well, thank you, Mandy, and especially thank you, Uli. Uli was probably quite low-key about her journey, because coming from a different country, settling into New Zealand, doing an MBA at 240 credits, that is one set of credits short of a PhD. She will graduate in May with distinction. And a wonderful achievement, and absolutely something that happens to only a handful of percent of people. And if you thought that maybe this is a hard thing to do because you don't have a great academic record or no record, or you hated university at the time you did it, because when you start early, you really don't know what you want to study. You do it because your girlfriend goes to, your boyfriend goes to, your parents tell you what to do. It's a dog's breakfast. And here's somebody who hasn't done this at all and done very well. There are probably 3 questions that pop up for you. One is, do I really have to do this? I mean, no one wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to commit to spending 50 grand on going to university. The second is, why would you pick Massey? And the third is, can I fail? No one wants to do that, and a lot of people will watch you and you want to know if you're failing. So the first part of, do you really have to do this? And the answer, looking around the room here, those who I see pictures of, you ain't no spring chickens, but you still have about 30, 35 years of work to do. You have no real chance to be appointed into senior roles unless you have the ability to show to an interview panel that you can actually do that job. Now, the most important part is that you will have been in your role for 10, 12, 15, 20 years. You think the next promotion is yours. And then some muppet with 5 years of work experience rushes by you, waves that piece of paper and says, I've got the MBA, and they get the job. And they get the job because people who hire you into senior roles themselves are risk adverse. They do not want to be called out in 5 years or 2 years or 12 months later if you turn out to be a failure. How could you have appointed that person? They didn't have anything to show for it. So one of the biggest things that this EMBA does, and it starts the moment you put that on the CV, and I think Uli will tell you, she'll probably be put that on her CV pretty much right away, that you're in progress. It changes the conversation. It is no longer, can you really do this? It is much more like, okay, tell me how you will do it. And that presumptively puts you into that role. So you will have more and more as you go along in your career, the challenge of having the ability to show people that you actually can do that job. And look, an executive MBA is a selected entry program. We accept 1 out of 4.5 people that apply. You're ending up with a very small group, selected people from all over New Zealand who are all managers in a similar role as yours, mid-level, high-level, and small firms, who all want to progress. And that is something that you can take to an interview, you can take to your manager. And I like the fact that Uli essentially said in a nice way that she became totally obnoxious. She just bugged the crap out of people because she would constantly involve herself in a conversation where before she wouldn't have participated. She would have been in the background. And I think most of you have a conversation in your mind where you said, oh, I could have really jumped in there and nailed that guy. But you didn't, because you didn't have the right credentials. So this is probably something that you will find quite important. You would put Massey, the second question, why Massey? You would pick Massey because we are the only university in New Zealand that teaches with a total focus on practical relevance. I will be teaching in 2 weeks' time a governance course. The chair of Fonterra, the CEO of ANZ, the CEO of Medicine New Zealand, a former prime minister. We will have people there who will tell you, teach you what they do, not what they read in an academic book 10 years ago and then put on a PowerPoint. We teach in a practical style. I've run billion-dollar firms for 30 years, so we talk about what we do. And that means that next morning, 8 o'clock, when you come back from that weekend, you will do something different at work. And it's noticeable. People will see that in you because you will come up with an extra buzzword. You will suddenly be more confident and you will stand your ground. And ultimately, as you know, if you are a smart person, but you talk about it, you are a best kept secret. You become the wallpaper in a conversation and become nondescript. You have to jump in and you have to show you can take charge. The third question that people are concerned about and think about is, can I fail? And yes, you could. But I have done this now, I've just added it up while you were talking, for 34 years, running MBA programs. And I can, on the hands, fingers of both hands, and I have all fingers still, I can count the people who have not managed academically. It just rarely happens. We pick you very carefully. It's a selected entry program. You cannot apply for the EMBA and be accepted automatically. We will look at you and we will talk to you, and look, it's a healthy conversation to have. You'll talk to me or you talk to Mandy or Rebecca. We will make sure that you are the right people for the program. And when you decide to come and we decide to take you on board, we will take care of you. This is the only program in the whole university where a team of 5 or 6 people are doing nothing else but making sure that you do the right thing. Now, you do the learning, but we have a few people who from time to time say, look, I want to sit out another year. grandmother's dying, I'm inheriting a farm, I'm busy being transferred to an overseas country, and you can't quite continue. That's perfectly okay. But it is nearly impossible for you to fail academically because Mandy told you there's no exams. We don't put you in a room with a blunt pencil and piece of paper, turn the light on and say 2 hours, and you have to give us back the wisdom from the last 6 months. That's just bullshit. So it doesn't do anything in practice. No manager would ever ask you to do that. So this is like being at work. And if you're good at being at work, if you have a decent CV, if you can communicate to people, you will pass this course. 10 weekends in 15 months is a low burden in terms of coming together physically. You will have some Zoom sessions in between, working with your groups, making sure that you keep up with whatever the groups are doing. But I love the analogy of Uli. You're talking to the board of HSBC on the 48th floor of their tower overlooking Hong Kong Harbor, and you can put that on your CV, and you can put immediately when you've done that you have done a practical consulting job overseas. You will become members, affiliate members of Governance New Zealand if you want to, setting you up for corporate board directorships. We make this very practical. You do the work, you will pass, you will have opportunities.
I think that some of you might be thinking, oh my gosh, what am I signing myself up for? And I want to reiterate to you that we are there with you the whole way. We will surround you with support. Massey University has great support. The Centre of Teaching and Learning Success is phenomenal with the resources that they have. We will give you some information about those. But one of the things I want to talk to you about is that you can put an assessment into them. They will critique it, send it back to you. You can make the changes and then you can submit it. So it's a great service that they do, and it gives you the opportunity of working out what it is you've not quite got right. Have you answered the questions? Do you have your referencing correct, etc.? Those kind of things. We've already talked about the orientation. Our staff do lots of work behind the scenes to make things seamless for you. There's a math and Excel refresher if you're math phobic. So, don't worry about that. We'll help you with that. The Career Accelerator will help you to progress that career. We have a fantastic online site where you can do 360 interviews, you can get your CV critiqued, all kinds of things. The last thing of that lot that I would like to mention is the mental gym. We have a session tonight. I have put the link in the chat. It's about the study tour and the project. This is the last one, actually. We've done a number from the end of last year, just about different topics. People can learn about different things with us. The last one we did was Getting Ready to Learn, which we'll give you some information with about too. So there are lots of try before you buy opportunities. If this year is not the year for you, we'll keep you in mind about future activities. And on the next slide, we will just talk about what next? What's the next step for you? So you can make contact with myself or Rebecca if you've got some questions. You will get this information tonight and you'll be able to then have another look at it and come back to us. And on the next slide is all around what you're going to do if you would like to apply. We need very little from you. Actually, this picture here is a group of our graduating students from a couple of years ago. So you can see the variety and how happy they are to get there to the end. All I need is your CV. I need your academic transcripts. If you do not have a degree, I also want to know about all your training. There's an application form that we get to fill out. And in that, we ask for 2 business referees. I send them a very short questionnaire, but you will need to prime those people to reply to me really quickly, because once I've got all that material together, I send it through to Jens and he will either interview you or have a discussion with you, and then we will let you know. So we can turn that around very quickly if you supply us with everything that we need. And then we get you to go online and apply. And so you already know that you're going to be accepted by the time you've actually made your application for the EMBA with Massey. And that's what we like about that process, because then there's no risk to you. You know exactly where you stand before you start to make that commitment, and we will help you all the way through that. As Yen said, if we select you, we know that you can do it. If you actually put the work in, you are going to be successful. And if we believe that you are not doing as well as we think, we're going to give you a kick up the backside, and we're going to persuade you to seek some help from our teaching and learning unit, or we're going to give you some resources, or we're going to talk to you about what you can do to make things better for you. So we don't just let you slip away. We work really hard to make sure, because you're making a commitment for your future, and we want to walk along beside you so that you can actually make that a successful transition.
Thank you, Mandy. We've got a few questions in the chat, like Mandy said. I'm just going to read them out. And Uli, you've got one for you. Approximately how many hours a week is required for study?
You take things into small chunks. I would guess I probably set aside between 10 to 20, 25 hours a week, but that's maximum. That includes working on the groups, having Zoom sessions with your groups, connecting with them, and also delivering your assignments. One thing that I'd probably would be good for you to know, the assignments from talking to cohort are different than undergraduates. So these assignments are, you're given a course portfolio or a profile, and the instructions are very clear. The learning outcomes are clear, and what your assignment needs to contain. There's generally a marking rubric. You're very clear on what you need to do. It is just like having a boss tell you, hey, you need to do this project, or you need to write a report on this, whatever it is. So you do the research, or you do the work, and you have the information in a textbook and Zoom sessions with your instructors, and you kind of put the pieces together, and then you deliver it in an assignment. And that assignment, you get feedback from. It's not just about the marking, it's about the feedback. So it is not generally a test like we used to have in school, where you actually have rote learning and you're tested on the retention of your knowledge. This is more about understanding the material and then putting it in a context as you would in a business setting. So I would say, to answer the question a little bit more succinctly, I would say 10 hours minimum. I would say commit to that, up to 20 plus. So you have to be realistic, but you also have to remember that if you do it in small bites, I'd sometimes do 15, 20 minutes before I'd leave for work. I'd do an hour or 45 minutes during lunch. While I was eating lunch, I'd have a book with me, or an online book, and start reading. So you don't think you have to sit there every night for 4 hours after work. You fit it in, and you also remember you have the weekends where you're not in the course, that you actually can commit to that. That includes that weekend time.
Jens, there was a question here about Executive MBA compared to other master's or postgraduate programs. Would you like to talk about that, please?
Yes, that's an easy answer. The MBA as a brand, as a product, is a generalist degree. It's a qualification that is intended to span professions. It spans industries. It makes you suitable for jobs in pretty much any environment, small firm, big firm, government department, startups, something you do yourself. It is intended to be a degree where you have knowledge about many areas. You may not have the deep specialist knowledge about HR, but you certainly understand leadership and people and how teams come together, and therefore it makes you employable in the widest range of jobs. And remember that none of you are people who are just starting out to work. All of you have work experience, but it may well be that you are in a sector where you want to break out and do something else. An MBA, and especially the Executive MBA, would allow you to claim competence in areas that go beyond what you currently do. It is a future-driven qualification that pretty much allows you to walk into pretty much any interview room and say, hey, I can do this job.
Spoken a lot this evening about Governance New Zealand and the membership. Jens, would you like to talk to us a little bit about the benefits that come with this membership, please?
The most universally described next step for managers like you is to sit on a company board. It is a honorific. You have to be invited. It is a helicopter view of another organization that invites you to help them steer that company, and it is a natural progression for most managers. And we affiliated with Governance New Zealand, which is the only international group, 28,000 members, the former Chartered Secretaries organization. They have chapters everywhere, and a London-based charter from 17 something, whatever, king and queen. The intent is to bring you into a group where they allow you membership pretty much right away. You have to do no other exams or tests, which other people have to do, because you will have done specific courses in the EMBA. And you then interact as much as you like with people who are focused on how you become a good board director, whether that is for a school board, whether that is for a startup, whether that is for a family firm or a normal company. You are able to claim that you have a set of skills that make you relevant as a company director, and that's a great progression for anyone, because you get to look into what another company does and you get to be in charge. It's beautiful.
So I'm going to hand it back to Jens.
Well, tēnā koutou katoa, and thank you for coming. The intent of the session was to somewhat demystify, to take the excitement and drama out of enrolling at a university. Look, universities are places of huge bureaucracy. We have big buildings, many people. But the reality is that in this specific qualification, we have a very small group, 5 people. They wrap themselves around a cohort of 50, 60, 70 EMBAs. We make sure that you do what you need to do. We make sure that you finish, and we focus on nothing else but making sure that you have a good experience. You bring the money, you bring the energy, you bring the ability to make a group become great because of your contribution, and we give you a form to shine. We put you in front of corporate consulting clients in New Zealand and overseas. We set you up to be company directors. The Massey EMBA is the absolutely best known program to slide directly into new opportunities. It is expected that about 47% of participants in the first year change jobs and go upwards, and that pretty much the rest changes jobs in the second and third year. It is very rare to see an executive MBA person graduate who has not had a major career upgrade during that period. You just become more relevant, more important, more valuable to not just companies, but also communities, your family. You contribute more. And I just want to leave you with the thought that the EMBA is not just to make more money in a big firm. It is also about being aspirational, guiding others, and being part of a whānau, a hapu, a group of people who all want to achieve together. And the MBA, especially with the executive add-on as being a 240 credit, very intensive study, is something that does that. 10 weekends over 15 months. We had a question here from Janine. We will give you the weekend dates 18 months in advance. You will know exactly when you'll be where. You can book your flights. You absolutely can find the cheap fares, and we will make sure that you know well in advance what you're going to do. This is something that if you had planned on advancing your career, taking charge, selfish is the new black. Looking out for yourself, looking out for your family, and making sure that you get the options you want. This is it. Now, the good news is that we're happy to talk to you about joining. The bad news is you can't procrastinate and let this sit another 5 weeks, because everything starts happening here in just about 2.5 weeks. And there's enough time to get you through the system if you are the right person, but you can't sit for 3 weeks and then suddenly wake up. So talk to Mandy, talk to Rebecca, talk to our people, and make sure that you get all the information. I put some information in the chat box how to reach me if you need to talk to me. But I want to thank all of you, especially the team that made evening hours work here tonight. Thank you all for coming together, and I wish you all the very best.